Excellent. An ale for me. And for my officers. In fact, ales for everyone.
10 backwards. Rick and work. And Will. Sometimes stammer.
Oh, yes.
Hello and welcome to 10 Backwards, a Star Trek podcast based in the UK, featuring myself, Will Turland. To my right is a man called Rick Palmer.
Konnichiwa.
To my front right is a lady called Gemma Turland.
Hello.
And to my front left is a man called Rick Everson.
Hello.
Today, I think it is really important that we all make sure that we never forget that history makes sure that we right, I'm going to edit this bit. No, it's fine. No, this has gone really well.
So hard.
It's fine.
Yeah, we never forget
The name.
History never forgets.
I think it's really important that history never forgets the name Enterprise, because today we're going to be talking about what is, in my opinion, the greatest episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation ever. Yesterday's Enterprise. In fact, I don't think it's just the greatest episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation ever. I think it's the greatest thing that mankind has creatively. I think in the future, aliens will come by a decimated Earth and they'll dig up an old DVD set of Star Trek: The Next Generation. They'll come across Yesterday's Enterprise and they will say, humans were brilliant because they made this.
You were right, Zach Zork. It was worth coming to this planet.
I dig this episode. No, but the point is, I really, really like Yesterday's Enterprise, like so much.
It's the least on the fence I've seen you about something.
I know, right? No, I love this episode hard, so it was my idea for us to do a whole episode on Yesterday's Enterprise, but it's not. It's a fairly traditional, like TNG favorite episode. Like it's highly rated among Star Trek. I think it's fair to say it's considered to be a good one. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not maybe as good as Aquiel.
Oh, what?
It starts with a pretty innocuous scene on 10 Forward.
Yes, it does.
With Guinan and Worf.
Yeah, it does. So yeah, Guinan and Worf are in 10 Forward.
Full-on belly laugh from Worf.
Yeah, well, Guinan is introducing Worf to prune juice, a warrior's drink. And like I really like this scene. She's trying to get him laid because she kind of like she's basically saying, he's basically saying that the women on the Enterprise be far too fragile to deal with a Klingon, and Guinan says to him that she thinks that there are a few women on the Enterprise he would find him tame, and he goes ha 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 ha, impossible.
Impossible.
I think in that episode she was basically saying, Worf, I would find you tame. She was saying,
I agree.
In the sack, yeah. I would fucking demolish you. I would smash you to bits, Worf. You would not know what to do with me. I am War Guinan.
I think you're right. No, I completely agree. I think Guinan would demolish Worf.
And I think she genuinely would. I think Worf would not be able to handle Guinan. It's a great scene from the get-go. Like I think Worf doesn't realise it, but he's actually been taken down a peg or two. And Guinan, we know that Guinan knows a thing or two, right? And I genuinely think if Guinan and Worf were to hook up, Worf would be the one with the bruises, and he wouldn't understand how he got them. And Guinan would be walking out of there going, boring.
That's the next guy.
Yawn.
Guinan has another worldly quality to her. There's something about that character that's not. and that's how she would demolish war.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't think we could even understand how she would do it. But Worf would be ruined.
Then a weird space thing turns up.
Yeah, it's a fun scene, and yeah, then we get an effect. There's like an alert, and Worf goes up to the bridge, and bam, there's like a weird kind of distortion effect, and everything changes. All the costumes are different, the lighting's different. The Enterprise C has come through an anomaly. Tasha Yara's on the bridge. Worf and Troy are gone. What? Drop the mic. Picard does a shit on the bridge. the opening credits roll. It's a great teaser. It's a great teaser.
Yeah, the lighting shift. I like the lighting shift. It's a very subtle way of saying things have changed.
Yeah.
And doing a shit isn't subtle, but
Picard.
he goes with it.
Thankfully, they cut that bit out of my copy.
I think
have the director's cut,
the budget
actually,
prohibited them from having Picard doing a shit on the bridge, but it's a great teaser. It's a great teaser. It's like I think it's great that Worf and Guinan get a scene, because Worf isn't really in this episode much, because most of it's set in an alternate universe where the Federation are at war with the Klingons, so it doesn't make sense to have Worf on the bridge. So he gets one of his best scenes just in a couple of minutes with Guinan, and then.
I'm flabbergasted by how much you've analysed a questionably whether or not it's flirtatious conversation. I can't wait to see how much analysis is done on the actual meat of the episode.
That is the meat of the episode. That's what Guinan said. I've watched this episode so many times over the years.
You've focused on this one point.
Yeah. Let's take a little time out and say I think it's fair to say if you're a Star Trek fan, you maybe kind of have a bit of a special relationship with some episodes. Like you have like a favourite episode that you come back to over the years, and it might be for a particular reason. It might be that you were going through a tough time in your life, and that episode help you out, or it might be that episode really like taps into something that means something to you. Like I think like Tapestry is a great episode that always makes you feel really reflective about my life when I watch it, because it makes you look back at decisions that you made in your life and how things might go differently. But yesterday's Enterprise, I've always felt that it's just really good. Like there's no other reason that I'm really attached to the episode.
I thought we were going to get like a real personal revelation about how yesterday's Enterprise helped you through a personal crisis or something.
There was a time when
it's as close as you get to the Next Gen crew having a mirror universe episode.
Yeah.
And that's always interesting, isn't it? It's like
but
it's
deadly serious. With mirror universe episodes tend to be a little bit flamboyant, over the top, and crazy. This is a much more deadly, very serious.
And it's maybe like it's a change of pace from what you normally get in Next Generation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's what was so remarkable about it at the time, because I guess now it's easy to look back on it as a bit of an oddity, because we've had we've had the Kelvin-verse movies where we've had a whole series of movies set in a sort of alternate timeline, and we've had Discovery where we've seen the Federation at war with the Klingons. But at the time in Next Generation, when this episode came along, I mean, the whole setup is that I guess we skipped ahead a little bit, but the whole setup is
do the setup bit.
Yeah, so the Enterprise C comes through this anomaly. Everything changes. We are in an alternate reality where the Federation has been at war with the Klingons for the last 22 years or so.
And the Enterprise C is on record as having disappeared.
Yeah.
Around Narendra 3.
And we're treated to an episode largely set in a world where the Federation has been at war with the Klingons, and its whole idea was really exciting. And as I was saying, I think we've seen that idea played out a lot more in Discovery, and in more detail, and in subsequent episodes we've delved into different, and we've seen the Federation at war in DS9, but at that point in TNG, the idea of seeing what Star Trek would be like if the Federation were at war was a really exciting idea.
Yeah,
To me anyway.
With DS9 we saw 2 years of war. This we're 20 years in or something, essentially, aren't we? They've been at war for years, and it's really,
and it's not going well.
No,
for them.
no, they're on the verge of defeat, essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, we after the credits we get a military log.
Military log, combat date 43625.2. While investigating an unusual radiation anomaly, the Enterprise has encountered what could almost be called a ghost from its own past. The Enterprise C, the immediate predecessor to this battleship.
And the Enterprise C is a handsome ship. I like it.
I love the
like
Ambassador
it, and
class.
it looks really cool because it's all battle damaged but
Commanded by Captain Garrett.
Yes, yeah. But key to that speech is that it's a military log, not a captain's log, and the Enterprise is referred to as a battleship.
I found that I watched yesterday the Enterprise not long after Discovery started, and I found there were some familiar beats to the both ships, like the ambience, the idea of a ship at war, the commands over the public address system, and just little things like the lighting, the mood, little kind of just a combination of factors that made me think this is that. Part of me thought that yesterday's Enterprise could almost be set in a continuation of some kind of Discovery Klingon war.
I was wondering if that's possible. If that's a possible alternate universe that they're existing.
Yeah, I mean,
Probably not.
possibly. But I
mean, I would say why not, but also probably not.
Or do the dates match up though?
Well, no, I guess
I guess Discovery could set up a universe where the Federation and Klingons are either at peace or at war, and it's a continuation of that, but not a continuous war.
I would love it if it turned out that Discovery was all leading up to a reveal that
I
this
have to
was
admit,
the universe.
I have to admit, when in the last episode of Discovery where we found out they jumped forward in time, I thought, wait a minute, is this going to be is this going to be like 100 years or so?
I was hoping it was going to be like, I don't know, they come across the like Voyager or something. Is it? Like, I was hoping it would be set after the current. Yeah.
There was a part of me who thought if they came through and the first ship they saw was the Titan with Riker in command. Because Jonathan Frakes has got to shoehorn himself into the series somewhere, hasn't he? It doesn't let a spin-off go.
I'm not ashamed to say I probably essenced in my trousers.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say everyone would have. Every reasonable human would have. But anyway, yes.
We are interrupting Will's run through, so stop.
Data reveals that Enterprise C was presumed destroyed at Narendra 3. So they beam over to Enterprise C and they find the captain's unconscious. Wang her back over to sick bay, sort her out.
Smelling salts.
Yeah. They find another dude buried under some rocks. There's a lot of rocks.
There are a lot of rocks in this episode.
A lot of rocks.
Something we like to talk about and 10Backward is whenever there's a battle. Certainly in
there's the
TNG
exploding wall and rocks.
Yeah, there's rubble falling and there's a lot of rocks in this episode. So buried under some rocks is Richard Callisto, the first episode. The first Castile, sorry. I've written it as Callisto. I think I'm going to call him Callisto.
It's called Castile.
Yeah.
I'm going to correct you every time, man. I have to.
Callisto, the first officer, is all right. Castile, and he starts hanging out with Tasha Yar. So we that's the point where we then find out the Federation is at war, and they've been at war for some time. But the plan is to fix up the Enterprise C and then get it to a starbase so they can use it in the war against the Klingons. But then Space Gandalf comes onto the bridge. Yay! Space Gandalf being Guinan, and says, this is not the way it's supposed to be.
Her
Drop the mic. Does a shit on the bridge.
clothes have changed as well.
She's purple, whereas previously she was
blue.
not purple.
Or was
I prefer the original outfit.
Was she purple and is she
Way
purple
back.
in the prime and blue in the?
No, I think she's purple in the alt universe, and I think she's
Yeah.
blue in them.
Bigger, and she's got a kind of pleated front to
Right.
her dress. I don't.
But her clothes are different. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The point is, she drops a vague bombshell. She doesn't do a shit on the bridge.
Right on Picard.
Yeah. And Picard's like, oh god, right, okay, Guinan's come up with
Space
this old
Gandalf
nonsense
has
again.
spoken.
Right, get him a ready room.
If you've got a space wizard on your ship, then you've got to
You really
accommodate
have to-
that.
And he does.
Yeah.
To be
But
fair.
so we get a scene with Picard and Guinan, and Guinan says things don't feel right to her.
This is all wrong. This is not the way it's supposed to be.
Picard's like, thanks, Guinan. That's brilliant. I can do a lot with that information. Cheers. But she's like the things like the bridge and the crew's uniform and their attitudes, and Picard's saying, well, what's changed?
It's the same bridge.
Yeah.
It's really dark.
And Guinan says families. There are meant to be families here.
Families. There should be children on this ship.
What? Children on the Enterprise? Guinan, we're at war.
No, we're not. At least we're not supposed to be.
Picard says, families on a warship? And she said, no, we're not meant to be at war.
This is a ship of peace.
Yeah, yeah. And then he's like, cheers, thanks, Guinan. Do you want to go back to the bar, because I know there's a bit of a queue building up in 10-4 now. I've had some messages from O'Brien.
The TLKs.
Yeah,
TKLs.
TKL. Everyone's waiting for a TKL. What is a TKL?
Ration
It's
pack.
the ration
Right,
packs,
right. They
yeah.
mention that a lot in this episode. TKLs. So anyway, Picard's like, oh, that was really weird. But anyway, let's get on with being in command of the Enterprise. So he goes to sickbay and he talks to Captain Garrett, who is the captain of the Enterprise C. What did everyone think of Captain Garrett?
She's pretty
Pretty
good.
cool.
I am a bit in love with her.
Ah, yeah,
Great.
yeah.
I would like to see it
I
more.
think she's great.
Mm.
So am I right?
She's,
Am I right in thinking is she like the first in TNG? Is she the first female starship captain that we've come across? No. Okay. Fair
In
enough.
Conspiracy, we see Captain Tryla Scott,
Okay.
who's not only female but also holds the record for youngest captain, I think,
Fair
according to what Picard says about her.
Okay. Okay. But I think.
What does Picard say about it?
That she's the youngest captain.
But it feels like it's. I don't know if I remember this right, but I remember thinking that it was kind of a big deal that that we see a female captain.
This is
of
the first female Enterprise
'cause-
captain.
Yeah, yeah, and that's like that's, and I think it's good that that they don't make a big. There's no
No.
point where Captain Picard goes,
A
oh,
woman.
a woman in charge of the Enterprise. She's just
Yeah,
really
it's matter
good.
of fact,
Mm.
it's just
And
that it doesn't
she
figure that
is
she's a woman.
she's a really, I can't remember the actress's name, but she's really good. She nails it.
She has dialogue with Crusher when Crusher's saying, I think she says something like, doctors always overprotect the patients.
Captain, you need at least another 24 hours.
Nonsense. Doctors always overprotect their patients.
And captains always push themselves too hard.
But it was a really good, immediate, natural thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So,
I thought she was great.
she's
is it Trisha O'Neill? I think is the actress's name.
No, I don't know for sure, but that
Oh,
sounds
good,
right.
Good research you've done there.
Ah, yeah, stick it up your ass.
It is odd though that
Think about
where
your
we're-
timeline.
where we're discussing how good this woman portrayed being a captain,
But-
because she's a woman. And
But we're
it was
I
a
mean, we're
dude,
talking about.
it wouldn't have figured.
No, I know, but I yeah, that's true, and it's kind of a little bit sad that we're calling it out as like a.
I don't know,
No,
but
I
either you
understand
kind of
where
say
it's coming
kind of say it's good, or you. I mean, yeah, you're right. Like it shouldn't matter that she's a woman or not, but I guess it's noticeable
And for 1989, this was still a pretty big move as well.
Yeah, That's it. That's it. And I think
I
it was.
understand where it's coming from, but it's the fact that it's still a
Well, I guess that's more of a modern thing, isn't it? Like where you
something
kind
to
of
comment. But
like-
it is, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, thinking back to when this episode was made, it feels like it's a big deal that we have a female captain in the Enterprise.
I just feel like it was
great,
a big deal. I just thought it was cool.
It wasn't a big deal. I suppose the point is that as well,
they don't make it.
What
But
you
yeah,
were
there's
saying
no.
was that it isn't a big deal.
Right.
But I think we live. I think what we're talking about is because now perhaps there is the idea that it is a big deal, whereas actually Star Trek was doing this kind of thing a long time ago.
But yeah.
So I guess the reason that people think it's a big deal is because it's kind of publicised as being a big deal when decisions are made about characters and their gender or any kind of aspect of the character is kind of portrayed as a aspect.
Yeah.
But this is just a woman as a captain, and there's nothing kind of remarkable about that, because there shouldn't be anything remarkable about that. But I guess we're coming from a point where maybe it is generally considered that if you portray a female character in a strong role, it's remarked upon.
Yeah.
But it's good that I think she really makes an impression.
She does. She's
in that
very
role,
effective.
and
And
I
I sort of immediately, it's
have-
the sort of character that I wish we'd got to see more.
The only thing I would say about Yesterday's Enterprise is that I kind of wish that they'd somehow made it into a two-parter.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, because I'd love to see more of.
But would it have been
story.
one of those that doesn't quite stretch to a two-parter?
No, because everything about it is awesome. And times it by two, and you get a billion times
But
awesome.
would it have been less satisfying, because there's we're shooting ahead to the end where they go back through, and that's it. You don't see them again. But in a two-parter, there would be the temptation to show the battle.
Yeah,
And
if
would
they had
that
the
be
money.
less dramatic in a way.
Yeah,
Because you're not just shutting the door on them.
I quite like that they go back through and you just have to hope that history plays out as it should.
Yeah, and you don't get any hint of how it goes one or the other, but
best case scenario, they're going to die.
Yeah, yeah. The best case scenario is they're gonna die, but maybe they get a few shots off first.
Yeah.
Do we find out? Do they mention what happened to the Enterprise C in the Prime universe before the Enterprise C appears? So
it's never referenced prior to this.
So I guess they built the Enterprise D. So at least it's.
We know that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, because
so the Enterprise C disappeared 22 years previously. How old is the Enterprise D? How long did they wait before they?
A long time, because the Enterprise D
was pretty
was
new.
Launched just shortly prior to Encounter at Farpoint.
Okay.
It's literally her maiden voyage.
I guess it took maybe it took a while to.
There was
a
a sign writer who was really good at doing giant Ds, and he died. So they had to train a guy up to do giant Ds.
Maybe that took 20
and
years.
That took 20 years.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so Picard has a kind of a bit of a problem with talking to Garrett about the fact that
Garrett, sorry.
the captain, Captain Garrett.
Sorry,
Rachel to her friends.
Yeah, about how they've moved. They're on the Enterprise D, they're on Enterprise C. They've moved in time. He's not cool with telling her about that, but eventually he does. And she tells him about how they were in combat with the Romulans, with 4 Romulan warbirds, and he's like, "Oh, well, history doesn't record that's happening." And he goes, "Well, it's kind of ironic actually, because a Federation ship saving a Klingon outpost might have actually prevented 20 years of war." Oh, I'm sure that's not important. Anyway,
40 billion deaths.
As an aside, my bartender says we shouldn't be at war.
But anyway, patch your ship up and fuck off to Starbase 6215.
Do a shit on the bridge.
Yes. So meanwhile, Tasha and Castile.
It's very unsubtle.
Tasha and Castile are hitting it off in 10 Forward, having a few TKLs, enjoy themselves. So Guinan shows up and tries it on with Picard again, and she's like, "Oh, remember that thing I said about earlier on about how everything's not right? Everything's still not right." Picard's like, "Fucking hell, Guinan, give me something." And she's saying, "You know, this is wrong. This isn't the way it's meant to be. We're not meant to be at war." And he says, "Who is to say that this history is any less proper than the other?" And Guinan says, "I suppose I am. Not good enough, damn it. Not good enough. I will not ask them to die."
Not good enough, damn it. Not good enough.
I love it when Picard says, "Not good enough, damn it. Not good enough."
Not good enough, damn it. Not good enough.
It's my favourite Picard lines. But yeah, Guinan just basically doesn't give him anything else, but says, "I've just got a really funny feeling that the timeline's gone a bit funny, and we're not really meant to be at war, and actually everything's meant to be a bit different." And Picard's like, "Oh, will you stop going on about it?" She said, "No, I won't." And he says, "Fine. Do you know what? I 100% believe you. I'm going to call it. I'm going to do the thing that we always do on Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm going to call a meeting. We're all going to have a lovely. I'm going to get some Kit Kats on a plate, lay them out.
At least they
have a big discussion about it. That's how serious I'm taking it."
At least the guy can say, "Well, a ship from another time has turned up, so."
Yeah.
That's their selling point on her things being wrong.
Yeah.
And I guess there's this
a red flag.
This is a big episode for Guinan, because I guess we learn a bit about Picard's relationship with Guinan, in that he 100% takes her seriously.
Also, how old is that relationship?
So the first time that is one way around. The first time that Guinan meets Picard isn't the first time that Picard meets Guinan, right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Because
he first meets him in Time's Arrow.
Yeah.
But then he meets her when he's younger, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
But that can't still apply?
But would he know?
Well, it might do.
Because Time's Arrow isn't going to happen under the
this
circumstances of this war.
Yeah, that's a good point. So actually, yeah,
it depends. It depends where Guinan is when the Enterprise C goes through. Right?
But the Enterprise D is in no point going to go and visit Davidia and go back in time, because there probably won't even be a Federation by that. It's still two and a bit years away.
Right, well, that's a good point.
But as we know, Guinan.
But that's when Guinan first meets Picard, not when Picard first meets Guinan. So Picard meeting Guinan could still happen.
That could still happen, yes. But Guinan won't have the awareness of Picard or everything. So that meeting
what
would be
you're
very
forgetting
different.
about Guinan is that she's basically Space Gandalf.
Oh well, there is that.
And that means that.
Well, yes. But
Gandalf is
but he has to believe that she's Space Gandalf. That's the point.
But she is, so
yeah, but
he does.
Gandalf is like an angel, right? He's like an angel level character in the Tolkien world. He's like a
It is eventually. He's not first.
But he's not a like Gandalf isn't a person, right? He's not a man. He's not a hobbit.
No,
he's a higher
wizard.
being.
I now regret saying that Guinan was Space Gandalf.
Yeah, I don't think we can directly apply this to Guinan.
Anyway, that's a good analogy, because Guinan is kind of like that.
But it's all she has that, she is Space Gandalf, but he has to believe in her. He has to trust her.
Yeah.
To follow her wisdom,
and why does he?
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know in this universe. We don't know what their history is, I guess, in this timeline. But maybe we can assume destiny.
Well, they had no idea what the history was
at
that point in the series writing, anyway.
But Gandalf Gandalf or Guinan can kind of impart some kind of non-verbal wisdom on those. Think about it. But
This is degenerating.
Yeah, I know it is, isn't it? As soon as Rick said non-verbal, I immediately thought, well, a fart, obviously. Yeah, butt gas.
Also, non-arsehole.
Oh, okay, right. Well, I didn't understand that. Anyway, I think we need to move on. And Picard calls a meeting of the senior staff, and here they hammer out some of the plot holes in the episode. And LaForge wonders how Guinan would know that history has been altered if she's been altered along with everyone else. And Data casually just drops a bit of a bombshell and just says, "Oh well,
Perhaps her species has a perception that goes beyond linear time.
And they all
what
go,
the fuck, Data?
Yeah,
What do
yeah,
you mean?
fine.
So she's like a wormhole alien, is she? Is she?
But it's
Well,
not also.
maybe-
But it's also not
Or a
linear.
prophet
It's just alternate linear, right?
Well, he says that possibly our species has a perception that goes beyond linear time. So,
But the timeline in the war universe is still linear.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not,
it,
It's not,
yeah,
it's
I
not
don't-
non-linear.
But
I-
it's not that. Yeah, but she perceives other timelines. But then that they're also linear.
I think Data is definitely saying her dad was a wormhole alien, her mum was Cisco from the future, and her cousin worked in a lovely hat shop.
He
and that's
just
why she likes
he
hats.
just didn't
That's-
say bullshit accessing.
Yeah. But yeah, Data basically says, well, maybe. Yeah.
Data.
Maybe, I think
stuff in that.
Data
She's an alien.
basically says the plot demands that Guinan knows things about the prime
and
time because of
Yeah.
the plot.
Isn't
And
it kind
Picard
of
says, okay?
stated
And
that
she's
she has
scandal.
extra senses based on from her time in the Nexus?
I don't know.
I thought it was
He
something.
didn't say anything about the Nexus. He said
Well, Data wouldn't have that next.
No, not in this. I mean, in
But-
Generations, when Picard's talking to Guinan about her when she was in the Nexus, he says something like, "Your sixth sense, that's where it came from," or something like that.
It would kind of make
So I
sense
can't-
in a sort of a retconning.
The
kind of
Nexus
way.
is not
But we
something
don't know
that's
how-
subject to normal time.
Yeah,
rules, so-
that's true. Yeah.
What is the
But at
also,
this
what
point-
is what is the Elarian concept of the universe?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. But I always felt like when they established the Elorian species, it kind of took away a lot of the mystery of Guinan, and they used the Nexus to try and restore that sense that she had some abilities beyond. But it very much brought her down to the level of more normal species.
because
and
if
just-
they were that advanced as a species, why were they wiped out with the Borg?
Well, I get maybe that
Because they were
Because
kind
the
of
Borg
were advanced, but
Yeah,
not.
but the
Te-
Borg are-
but they're not
the Borg
The
are-
Borg are
the Borg are-
badass.
Yeah, they're badass, but they're badass in a very physical realm.
That's true. Like the Elarian don't seem to be technologically advanced. They're like personally advanced. Like they're as a
like a sort of evolved.
yeah,
beings.
like they're like when you like a suit. They're like an advanced people who live a very simple life.
Yeah.
I just don't think there was ever a very clear or any plan at all in terms of Guinan's thing.
No,
they used mysterious powers as and when they were required.
I
They
think
try and
it's-
made some
yeah.
explanation which didn't really fit. So it's
I
kind
think
of
we
But
may be
being that-
overthinking Guinan's part.
But-
I think
but
Guinan is a function of the plot.
A
So-
being that
so-
perceives realities and different realities and can retain memories of them is fine for me. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think the vagueness
But
of
also
Guinan
the
works
only thing
in this.
the only thing
Because
that
you
is odd with
accept-
that is that how do you perceive a prime timeline?
Well,
Do the Elori-
idea of the prime time comes in our quibbles that we've had.
Yeah, I've got a whole section on how the time travel works, and I
but
don't
then maybe
think it does.
maybe it's a bit like
I have a blackboard prepared.
I was going to say maybe the Elorians have got some experience of the mycelium network.
maybe it's or maybe it's like
Yeah, throw
Arrival.
them mushrooms out there
But
again.
maybe it's
Yeah,
like
see, that would work.
maybe it's like but in Arrival, in Arrival, the main character starts to think differently when she starts to experience a different language. You think-
Arrival the movie, not Arrival a TNG episode, right?
Is Arrival
Next.
a TNG episode?
I don't know.
No.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, just in case
Right,
people
of
might have
course,
thought.
yeah,
But then-
yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So maybe like Guinan's kind of perception of a prime universe is like a language, but she knows other languages and like not a language as such, but like a
I always got a sense that it
Suppose
was like
language is a way of thinking.
that it was like a subconscious thing. Like she didn't really understand
She had an
it.
itch.
She just had an. It was
wasn't
like
right.
it was something within her that she didn't understand herself, but she knew something was like enough to be able to.
But then how
verbalise it
does
to
she
Picard.
do that in an alternate reality? Because it's an alternate. Is it her
She
or is
must
it?
have an anchor to her other self.
The
Right.
point is, Picard calls
She
a meeting.
exists in all
Wait.
realities, but
You've opened a can of worms
Yeah.
of interesting worms.
which is the real reality.
Oh, they all are. Not good
Yeah,
enough,
they
damn
are.
it! Not good enough.
So Picard calls a meeting. And Data says that thing that everyone got hung up on. Don't get hung up on it. It's a plot convenience. Don't worry about it. Skynet is a space wizard. She knows about things. It's so that the plot can happen. Don't worry about it. Right. Picard decides, to everyone's objection, and to the point that he tells Riker that he's not seeking Riker's consent. This meeting is just a briefing. Shuts Riker down. He trusts Guinan. Data disagrees and says, Data disagrees and says it wouldn't absolutely be a meaningless death if they sent the Enterprise C back through the anomaly, because the Klingons regard honour above all else. And then actually, if the crew of the Enterprise C died fighting for the survival of a Klingon outpost, it might be considered quite a meaningful act of honour for the Klingon Empire. They might even not go to war with the Federation because of that. And then Picard says, their deaths might prevent the entire war, even if the Enterprise C doesn't succeed in its battle. It'll change history, creating a new future for all of them. Everyone thinks this is really nutty. Picard's like,
I think I'm aware of your opinion, Commander. This is a briefing. I'm not seeking your consent.
Also, we're in
it's kinda
space.
cool.
Also, there's a ship from the past outside. Come on, give me a break.
yeah. But it's kind of clear that it feels like Picard's relationship with Riker's a little different in this reality. Like, I think regular Picard would have taken on board Riker's objections, but here he just shuts him down and says this is a briefing. That's it. This is the way it is. So Picard goes to Garrett and Captain Garrett says, to be honest with you, Picard, a significant number of my crew members have expressed a desire to return, even knowing the odds. Some because they can't bear to live without their loved ones. Some because they don't like the idea of slipping out in the middle of a fight. Because we're all badasses on the Enterprise C. There's a line which I absolutely love, and there's something about the way Patrick Stewart delivers this line where he says, the war is going very badly. He says it really quietly as well. The war is going very badly for the Federation.
Far worse than is generally known. Starfleet Command believes that defeat is inevitable. Within 6 months, we may have no choice but to surrender.
And Garrett says, are you saying all this may be a result of our arrival here? He says, one ship.
It will make no difference in the here and now. But 22 years ago, one ship could have stopped this war before it started.
Oh my god. I think I just jizzed my pants delivering that. I love it so hard. It's great stuff, and Patrick Stewart delivers it with such gusto and integrity, and he really nails it, and it's good. It's good stuff.
It is good stuff. And she absolutely takes it in her stride, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
She's like, do you know what? We were going to do that anyway, Picard. So they come to me saying we should go back in time and all die. We were going to do that anyway because we're such heroes. So Picard beams back to the Enterprise, and then Captain Garrett's just gruesomely killed in an attack with rocks.
Rocks and shrapnel in the head.
Yeah. Bird of prey fires on the Enterprise C, rocks fall down, shrapnel right in the head, bam, Garrett's dead. Oh, okay. That's pretty brutal.
All we've got left is Castile.
Yeah, there's a bit of an odd scene where Castile is kind of in a briefing with Riker and Picard, and Riker says, Well, he knows that history never intended the Enterprise C to go into battle without her captain. So how does he know that? What's he on about? And then they decide just to carry on anyway. Like it's a weirdly pointless scene where they're basically saying, well, the captain's dead, so you shouldn't go back in time and save everyone. And Castile's saying, well, nothing's changed. We're all going to die anyway. I should go back in time and say. And they're like, oh, all right, fine, go on and do it. Why are they even debating that? They've already made the decision. What's changed? It's just, I know, it's a bit of extra drama. I
suppose it was to make Castile a hero, wasn't it?
I think so.
And maybe for the Tasha Yar storyline.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. I think so. I think it's so that he sort of steps up to the plate. Might be more dramatic. Than
how much do you think that this episode was a chance to kind of give Tasha Yar a decent send off?
I think 75%.
I have to admit I really like the Tasha Yar and Castile relationship and romance.
I think it works. I think
it's believable
and I love there's obviously the burgeoning romantic relationship, but when she goes back to the ship when they're about to leave, and she goes back and says, I've requested the, what's the word?
It's like a transfer.
Transfer to the ship, and he says, "No, it's ridiculous. No, I won't let you on my ship. This is crazy. We're all going to die." And she says, "No, I am the best person for this job.
Yeah, and the best, better than tactical than
anyone
anybody
else. I am the best person. I have the best skills, the best knowledge. This is where I should be."
Yeah,
exactly.
So like Tasha Yar has a really awkward conversation with Guinan about how she's dead and everything. And Tasha Yar's like, "Oh, another situation." Well, I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Guinan."
Guinan's like, "All I know is that it was a pointless death."
Yeah, and Tasha Yar's like, "Wow, that's really wow. Are you the ship's counsellor, Guinan? Because you've nailed it."
I think
an empty death. Sorry.
Yeah,
quite specific for a subconscious feeling.
Yeah.
Explain.
Yeah,
she's like, a feeling I can't explain. But you're dead, and it was meaningless.
Yeah, you died. Literally the most worthless way possible.
Yeah, you were killed by like a weird tar monster, and for some reason your funeral was in Teletubby Land.
So correct you should probably find another way to try and die, and that's what she does. But yeah, she goes to Picard, and it's a great scene that she has with Picard, where she's saying, "I request a transfer to the Enterprise C," and Picard's like, "Request denied." You crazy fool!
I'm gonna lower my trousers and do a shit in my quarters. To be fair, Will started it, and I'm supporting him in this.
Yeah, he's right.
Horrible.
He's right to say that Picard does a shit on his desk in that scene, even though that doesn't happen. But yeah, it's a good scene, and she reasons with Picard and says, Guinan says that I died in the timeline.
Guinan says I died, so I've got to
Please,
go
can I
now.
go and but she says, well, they need someone at tactical. I want to do this, and basically it's maybe a bit of a stretch that she's able to convince Picard, but I think the actors sell it.
She convinces people on her skills and her knowledge and her abilities.
Right. And they don't just have to. I mean, it's part of it is maybe her relationship with Castile, but they don't. She doesn't say it's.
But also part
because
of
that,
and maybe
they don't make it because of that. Like they make it that's part of it, but that's not the whole. Like she's not just going back because she's in love with a man on the Enterprise C and she wants to go and die with a man. They don't do it like that. And
she doesn't want the time changes to erase her and leave. She wants to do something. She wants to die she wants to die properly.
I guess she wants to die properly, and maybe she is also buying into the idea that the world that she's living in is not the best possible world.
So she wants to die fighting for a better one.
Yeah. Military log. Supplemental.
Lieutenant Tasha Yar has transferred to the Enterprise C, where she has taken over tactical duties. Meanwhile, our long-range scanners have picked up Klingon battle cruisers on an intercept course.
Oh my god, we've just entered the last 10 minutes of the episode where shit gets real. And Picard says this, and this is the best thing that any man has ever said in the history of mankind. Attention all hands.
As you know, we could outrun the Klingon vessels, but we must protect the Enterprise C until she enters the temporal rift. And we must succeed. Let's make sure that history never forgets the name Enterprise. Picard out.
Picard out! Drop the mic, does a shit on the bridge. Oh my god, what a line!
I really want to lose the whole does a shit somewhere thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think we've done the does a shit on
To death.
I suppose that may be a running gag that has run its course. Perhaps undermined.
You never know.
No, but yeah, it's such a great line.
You lose the subtlety if you do it too often, Will.
You're right.
It is a good line.
I'm
But
sure
then-
there's a lot of subtlety to begin with.
And then we're treated to an incredible space battle, which, to be fair, has perhaps not aged well. It is slow moving.
It's pretty
it is
static.
brilliant. Yeah,
How
but-
incredible are Star Trek space battles?
really incredible.
Ah.
Well, okay, let's
It's
roll
not-
it back to, what is it, 1989 when this episode was made, or was it 90?
No, a bit later than that, right?
Well,
No,
season
but it's
3.
right, yeah.
Yeah, and it started in 87, is that right? So
87, 88 for Series 1,
Wow.
88, 89 Series 2, 89, 90.
89, 90. So roll it back. We've never seen anything like this in Star Trek before. This is this is an epic space battle. We get maybe 4 to 5 effect shots. The opening shot where we see 3 Klingon battle cruisers. We even get a bit of a pan as they're
Wow.
approaching the Enterprise, firing on it. Oh, it just looks great.
This is movie quality stuff.
Yeah,
You know, this is crazy good battle effects.
definitely. And the Enterprise gets absolutely hammered. It's just great because it's sort of an alternate timeline scenario. They can absolutely hammer the Enterprise, and it's fine to do so. There's a warp core breach. Geordi does a little roll under the barrier as it comes down, which is really dramatic. There's sparks flying everywhere. There's fire on the bridge. There's an explosion. Riker gets a thing in his neck. There's rocks everywhere.
Rocks!
They destroy a Klingon bird of prey. Oh, it's really good.
I heard it was going to be even more violent, and like Crusher,
right.
Crusher was going to get attacked with a bat'leth.
Yeah, I think I think Wesley Crusher was going to be beheaded. I read, but they ran out of time and money to do that, and I think Data was going to be
complained
electrocuted.
because he kind of liked his head.
Yeah. But it's an absolutely thrilling sequence. I think. I mean, it's like a real kind of action ending. But we'd never seen anything like that in Next Generation until that point. This is the most extended sort of action sequence we'd ever seen, and that's great. We end with the Enterprise C entering the rift again, and the old Star Trek reset button is pushed. Everything's set back to normal. We end with maybe my favourite effect shot in all TNG history, where you have two Klingon birds of prey very slowly approaching the Enterprise D, firing on it, and it's like it just looks great. It just looks great, even though it's a very static shot. That's the best they could do.
They sold it well,
those
though.
days.
It's literally the Enterprise is there, and these 2 things are looming down on it. It really sold the effect that this is it. This is the end.
There's a point where they're hailed by the Klingons, and the Klingons say, surrender. And Picard says, that'll be the day.
He
And
does a
he
little jump.
leaps over the
Yeah.
desk to get to fire some phasers
That's
again.
an amazing leap. the man
Which is so
does.
cool. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then, bam, everything's restored. Picard's like, oh, I think something was coming through the rift there for a minute, but now it's not. It's fine. And then we go back to 10 Forward and Guinan's like, oh, is anything wrong up there? Like, no. Like, oh, okay, cheers.
Mm-hmm.
And then she sat there with Geordie. And she says to Geordie, tell me about Tasha Yar. I say it's a really nice ending. We get a little reminder that this episode was kind of about Tasha Yar.
It was, yeah.
And we get a little, even though I believe Geordie's actually wearing the wrong uniform at
Yes,
that point.
you can
I think
see
his cuffs are different.
The alternate type.
Oops.
Mm.
But
maybe things have been stirred up a bit.
Oh. No, it's just it's continuity error.
Yeah. We never see those cuffs anywhere else.
Maybe he just really likes those cuffs. And then gets told later, Geordie, no, you like those cuffs, but they're actually
about those
standard,
technically.
About those weird reality
can you
cuffs
just
you've got.
sort those out, please, before it becomes a problem?
So I have some nitpicks around the time travel.
You have nitpicks.
I know this
Can't
is my
believe
It's your
absolute.
favourite thing ever.
This is
ever
my
in the
absolutely
history
only
of
nit.
man.
Everything about this episode is perfect, except that the time travel stuff is just it's a little bit shonky. So
right.
How so?
well,
Okay.
okay. So in the episode, the assumption appears to be this. Now I have drawn on our kids' blackboard a little timeline. And now this is what we're gonna have to describe this.
This is great for a podcast.
Yeah.
Use visual aids in a podcast.
But I've drawn a single line, and then I've drawn a point where the timeline skews into an alternate 1985.
So it's a horizontal line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a point early on in the horizontal line which says Battle of
Narendra 3.
Narendra 3.
And I've drawn a little circle around it, and then there's a skew into an alternate timeline. So
Which is also horizontal.
So this episode seems to be saying Enterprise C is blasted forward in time by a temporal displacement created by a fierce volley of photon torpedoes.
Because that never ever happens in the history of space ever.
Yeah, okay. So that's a little suspicious. As such, it doesn't die a glorious death in battle trying to save a Klingon outpost. Therefore, it doesn't win the hearts and minds of the Klingons, and a war happens for reasons. Therefore, an alternate Federation at War universe is created.
So this is the point at which the war is created.
No.
Well, yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, it's Battle of
yeah.
Narendra 3.
I guess. Okay. Well, my line was leaning into the future.
You're
a bit, but
making it
that's not-
artistic.
I guess I was.
I assume
Yeah.
that was the Enterprise C moving forward.
It was. I was kind of mirroring what Doc does in Back to the Future 2 when he skews into an alternate 1985. That's how he draws it. But technically, that's not
But
really.
this is an alternate 2366.
Indeed. But so there's some problems with that because I think the problem is nothing has changed in the past. So there's a fierce volley of photon torpedoes that creates a rift, but didn't that always happen? Like nothing went back from the future to create that.
Well,
So I think
But isn't it the disappearance that creates the timeline?
but they don't.
Well,
but
that
the
always
point is
happened
that that
because-
always happened. They always came back to that exact moment they disappeared.
I have a Star Trek book which I've read, which is called "Is Data Human? The Metaphysics of Star Trek" by Richard Hanley. It's really interesting.
Indeed.
I 100% recommend it if you want to.
Borrow it from you.
Yeah, if you want to do a bit of reading about all of the sort of scientific concepts that come up in Star Trek. But there's a little chapter on yesterday's Enterprise.
I need to go to the loo.
Are we taking a break? Can we take a break?
Let's cut to commercial.
Tell you what,
'Cause
let's
I would like to go to the loo as well.
Right,
So
let's
we'll
cut to
take a break.
commercials. I'm going to redraw the
Redraw that,
timeline.
yeah,
And we'll come back.
start your thing.
An hour.
Are we taking a break while we all read this book?
Yeah.
Just, it might take a while. I've had a couple of drinks, so don't focus.
Right.
Not good enough, damn it! Not good enough!
So what are we trying to explain now?
So, this is the thing. So,
No,
Rick's drawn the timeline on the blackboard, and I don't agree.
No, but what? Give me.
This is great podcast.
No, it's too many timelines on the blackboard.
That none of our listeners can see.
The alternate.
I'm not sure how well this will translate audibly.
No, I'm slightly concerned about that.
No, the war timeline is always there. We just experience it because of this happening here.
No, I don't believe that.
No, I think it.
My three co-hosts are gathered around the blackboard arguing about this timeline still. It's still recording and has been for several minutes. I don't really know what conclusions they're coming to.
Because if you can assume that, then you can decide not to assume that.
And if you assume it makes an ass of you and me. Boom! Mic drop! I'm shitting at people.
That's how opinion
brought
works,
that
I
back.
suppose.
The problem is there's a paradox because in the prime timeline, Tasha Yar is dead.
I think Councillor Troy said it best. There's no time to argue about time. We don't have the time.
The Enterprise C travels across to the alternate timeline.
To point B.
To point B. Between points B and C is the timeline of the episode Yesterday's Enterprise. At point C, the Enterprise D sends the Enterprise C back across to the other timeline to point A. By doing that, it allows the prime timeline to continue through TNG, DS9, Voyager, the timeline that we know. The alternate timeline also continues. The Enterprise D is destroyed, but that timeline still exists. It's a parallel universe. By looking at it in that way, that explains how Tasha Yar crosses from the alternate timeline into the prime timeline 22 years ago and is then captured by the Romulans. Some things happen which are not discussed in detail in TNG, but the result is her daughter shows up in Unification Parts 1 and 2. Redemption Part 1 and 2.
Not good enough, damn it! Not good enough!
It's like putting too much air in a balloon. But yes. So I think the time travel, the shonky time travel, kind of works if you think of it as alternate universes instead of
if you don't
changing history.
Okay,
basically, I think.
So, does the prune juice keep Worf regular like a human, or does he just like the taste?
Does a warrior need to be regular?
Well, I was just wondering why he likes it.
I think there was
it's tasty. I like prune juice.
I don't think I've ever tried it.
It goes right through me.
Musky.
There was an alternate scene where instead of Guinan saying to Worf that some women might find him tame, she says to Worf, careful with that prune juice, Worf, or else you might end up shitting like the 4th of July.
Mind you, may affect Klingons differently.
None of these things are canon. So,
I think we've done it. I think we sorted it out.
Yeah.
I think we need to take a picture of that before.
It definitely needs to go in the show notes.
Yes.
Did you take a picture before the dotted line?
No, not before the dotted line. Okay.
Well, I'll take a picture
I'll
after
take
that.
a picture.
But I just would like to reiterate the book Is Data Human? The Metaphysics of Star Trek by Richard Hanley is a really good read.
Available.
It's really interesting.
Save it for the Trek Book Club podcast, which myself and Trekkie Rob do. It's quite good. You should check it out.
Hey, quit trailing your other podcast in this podcast. No, wait, you're allowed to do that. It's fine. Well, I'm all for that. So,
are there any books, Star Trek books, about the alternate timeline or anything to do with?
I would heavily recommend Q Squared by Peter David, which does in fact utilise the Yesterday's Enterprise timeline as well as other timelines deals with Q and Trelane and features elements from the original series as well as Next Gen. It's bloody brilliant.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So, highs and lows of yesterday's Enterprise. I think for me, I think you can probably imagine I have 0 lows, and 100% of the episode is just one massive high for me. But what did you guys think when you revisited this episode? What did you make of it?
Well, in my highs, I have got Captain Carrot. I know we've discussed her, and I said I'm a little bit in love with her, but I'm just going to reiterate her as a definite high in this episode.
Yeah.
And we've also talked a bit about the battle with the Klingons as the Enterprise C returns through the vortex. It's not Trek's normal focus, but it is a fantastic battle. I think it's really well done.
Yeah.
I know we've maybe made comment that it's quite sort of slow and ponderous, but I think what they've done is they've taken the fact that Star Trek deals with very large ships which wouldn't move fast. That we're not talking about like X-wing fighters or something, and they've made that a virtue by using that as a way to make these sort of slow-moving battles, but still with quite a lot of impact.
Yeah, naval warfare is pretty slow-paced.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
The Enterprise C, I just think it's a beautiful ship. But my big highlight, I think, is when we go into this alternate timeline, the Enterprise D is just the attention they've given to the differences. This ship is a very different sort of ship. There's darker lighting, the captain's chair is on its own, there's no accompanying chairs around it. 10 Forward is much more utilitarian. Everyone's running around with these iPads. They're all doing their little work and handing these tablets about. And there's constant intercom whistles in the background as all these military announcements are going on. So it feels a lot more military stuff going on. It's a very different feel, and they've done very well.
They upped the background sound in this episode. They made a conscious decision to make it feel different. They decided to turn up all of the background noise.
Yeah.
I don't know, to make it feel more like things were going on.
Yeah,
on the
they've
ship.
really the attention to detail to really build the atmosphere on this war footing Enterprise is brilliant, and it really sells the episode to me.
Yeah.
In terms of low, I'd probably say that it inspired this entire timeline debate that we had. And we tried to use a blackboard, a visual aid in a podcast.
Yeah, a visual aid in an audio medium equals incorrect.
I agree with you. I think my highs are just the alternate reality, really, like the subtle changes that they have with pretty much the same sets. Just not to repeat what you just said, but the little bits of attention to detail, the little kind of ideas they have to kind of.
Yeah.
It feels like a more dynamic ship in the alternate reality. Like everything in TNG, the Enterprise is kind of almost like a luxury liner in a way, so comfortable. Whereas in the alternate time, it's definitely a battleship.
Yeah, and they could have just gone with a fairly simplistic redress of the existing set, but I think the level of detail that really ploughed into it completely sold the effect for this episode.
And not really any lows, I think. No, I can't really think of anything that's bad about it, other than perhaps maybe they could have made it a two-parter. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. It's absolutely fine as it is. So. That's not low.
Cool. How about you, Gemma? Any anything?
Anything.
Anything.
Just anything. No.
Okay.
Do you have pressure? No. Okay.
Fair enough. I guess we've pretty much covered everything. I've got some more highs to mention.
Go for it.
Because I think this is such a great episode of Star Trek because we get a pretty mind-bending sci-fi idea to get our head around, to the point where we've drawn it on a blackboard and we still don't agree on what happens in this episode, time travel wise. We get a cool moral quandary where, should Picard order 125 people to their deaths on the chance that it might prevent a war, but that he doesn't really know for sure. Some really good character stuff. Picard's brilliant here. Like War, Picard is subtly different. He's kind of dismissive of Riker because he can't afford to be second guessed, and Tasha gets some great stuff here. But arguably is Tasha Yar's best episode. I've read that Denise Crosby says that this is her favourite episode of Next Generation, and that if she'd got more stories like this, she maybe would have hung around and not left in season 1. And I think it's just a really, really exciting episode, and also it has a space battle in it. And I read a little bit of trivia. I know that this episode was really rushed into production because Whoopi Goldberg and Denise Crosby's schedules were they were both available at one particular time, but the script wasn't ready. So they rushed. There were 4 members of the writing staff: Ira Steven Bear, Ronald Moore, Hans Beimler, and Richard Manning, and all 4 of them kind of separated the script out and wrote it over a long weekend, like 3 days, and no one was happy with the script because they were like, this is ridiculous. We've just rushed it out. This isn't going to work. But I think by some kind of miracle, that sort of pressure of time and deadlines created something pretty great.
I mean, I'm a massive fan of Ira Bear. He's the stuff he did through Deep Space Nine. So him and Ron Moore on an episode immediately spells to me going to be pretty damn awesome. But he's also a very harsh critic of his own work. If you read the DS9 Companion, he's not got a lot of good things to say about a lot of stuff. He's quite critical. I mean, he has got good things to say, but it's definitely worth a read to have a look at the Deep Space Nine Companion and get an insight into his process. I mean, he's going to be at Destination Star Trek in October.
Yes,
which is very exciting. I would love if he's doing any talks. I'm definitely going for that.
Yeah,
and taking my DS9 Companion to get signed. I think by him because
brilliant.
He is awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of screenwriting, he is definitely one of my aspiration models. So it's going to be great to meet him. But yeah, so he's great is kind of the take I'm taking from what you've just said about that.
Yeah.
It's quite late and I've been drinking a bit and the blackboard thing has frazzled my brain, so...
Yeah, we might... we've taken some pictures of the blackboard. We might throw that up on the 10Backwards.
I think we're going to have to, just for context, really.
I don't know if that's going to help anyone understand what we're trying to say.
It may, in fact, make it worse.
Yeah.
I think, the debate starts here, really.
Yeah.
If you have any other thoughts on the timeline and the way the time travel model is presented, please direct them specifically to Will and not me.
No.
Because I lost enthusiasm about 3 minutes into this podcast.
Rick.
No, this is a serious debate. Rick.
No, I didn't lose enthusiasm for yesterday's Enterprise. I do stand by. It's a great episode.
What's said is said.
The timeline debate.
It's
important.
I think we did a good job. I think we were.
You have. I will say I admire your commitment to searching for the truth. You are like
Rick,
Mulder.
As Rick says, I think we've done a good job gesturing at a blackboard that no one can see in an audio medium. But to be fair, it's an idea that I championed. So I'm criticising him for getting on board with my idea. That's how I roll. Doing a shit on my own desk, effectively.
Oh, I really think in future podcasts we're going to lose that.
Yeah, this is the last podcast where people shit on things.
You can state it. It doesn't mean that it won't happen.
We've still got to Governor, so...
To Governor.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you can't.
I'm nostalgic and longing for the days of the Governor over shitting on everything.
It's cleaner.
Hey, to Governor! There's someone's got wrong at mill.
So I think
my aspirations of guesting on other more sort of serious and cerebral podcasts are evaporating in front of me.
Yeah, it's melting away through your fingers.
They might still have me back on Trek ranks if I promise not to talk about shitting.
Yeah. I don't think they'll have me on there. Because I can't make that promise. I think this episode of the podcast represents... Well, I think it represents quite a big editing challenge for me.
Are you editing out all the shit?
Yeah, you start...
It's gonna be
You
about
blame
5 minutes
only
long
yourself.
once I've edited out all the things where we talk about doing a shit on a desk. It's like 3 minutes where we say the title over and over again. That's what
Currently, the
probably
running
what
time
it's
is
gonna
about
be, isn't
18
it?
hours.
Yeah.
Oh, I really should have been at work a bit earlier.
Right. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. However
We thank
it
them or
bears up-
apologise?
Yeah.
I
sorry.
think when we
Well,
put
it
it up,
depends on what
we'll-
timeline you listen it.
Yeah.
You listen to.
Yeah, if you
'Cause
listen
it
to
could
this,
be a timeline where it's a success.
In the other timeline, this was
where
a
it's
great
it's
podcast.
It's a garbled, fuckwittery, drunken.
I think we can get a picture of this up on the website when we put the podcast out. As a visual aid.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I think we should change the name of our podcast from 10 Backward to Garbled Fuckwittery. The podcast.
It would be
That's
more
not quite
accurate.
like
I don't know. I think we came to some good conclusions about alternate
Yeah, that's your
realities.
goal.
I think you do think that. No, I think
Wait a minute. Gemma said that timelines collapse. That's I contend that is garbled. Fuck.
No,
I'm still a
I
little
do
bit.
think timelines collapse. If
Oh
you,
no,
if
we've
you have a
opened
point,
this debate.
I don't
How does a
disagree with you,
timeline
Gemma,
collapse?
but you specifically said timelines collapse when actors are removed.
Yeah,
So what
you
happens
did.
to
No,
accountants?
No,
or,
I
or
don't
like,
mean actors
or like optometrists?
as in people who act. I mean actors as in participants.
Ah. Okay.
Because
I just thought you meant certain career paths.
If you consider that every creature is a universe unto themselves.
Mm.
Every living creature that can, it has a concept of themselves. That is a timeline. Every
But
creature
why-
is a timeline.
But then why
If-
just a
if-
living creature? Why not every atom? And
Oh,
But
because
no,
something
but
has a
that's-
concept, has to observe themselves.
But consciousness.
No, just let me speak. Shush. If that is removed, then that stops. The timeline stops. If the creature, whatever, who is observing that timeline is removed, that timeline stops. And if it is removed into another timeline, then.
But how is it?
wait a minute, I have a really important point to make. If we finish this podcast, we can eat crisps.
Yeah, there's that. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
See
I'm so
ya.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Not good enough, damn it! Not good
Do
enough!
you realize how incredible this is?
It's tradition.
You ever noticed her bum? What? Her bum.
Oh no!
Enough of this self-indulgence.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, our website is www.lowerdexradio.co.uk. You can reach us on the Twitters at 10backward, 10 being the number and backward being the word backward. We're also on Facebook at www.facebook.com/10backward podcast. You can also email us at crew@lowerdexradio.co.uk. On a personal, individual level, my Twitter is @WiltHerland. Rick Everson's Twitter is @TrekFanRick. And Rick Palmer's Twitter is @Mr. Imhotep.
Hi, thank you again for listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you might consider supporting us. We now have a Patreon where people can pledge small amounts to fund our ongoing projects like keeping our website up to date, new audio equipment as we're going along, and potentially opportunities to expand our content. You can go look at this at patreon.com/lowerdexradio. If you don't feel you can donate but would still like to support us, we would love it if you could subscribe to us on however you get your podcasts, through iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or we're on various third-party apps. And if you could leave us a review on any of those, that would be fantastic and we'd be very appreciative.
Thanks again for listening, and please tune in for more podcasts from the 10 Backward crew.
Let's make sure that history never forgets the name.
10 backward?
Paddy, don't you think you should rephrase that?
10 backward.
10 Backward.
Impossible.
You never know till you try.
Then I'll never know.
Coward.
I was merely concerned for the safety of my crewmates.
Drink your prune juice.